Hello, wrestling fans. We are live. It is another edition of We Can't Wrestle Live. Happy Sunday night on the We Can't Wrestle Facebook page and the We Can't Wrestle, or the We Can't Wrestle Facebook group and the We Can't Wrestle YouTube page. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube page yet, what in the hell are you waiting for?
I'm looking for my sleeves. Where the hell did they go? Where the hell did my sleeves go? I had them before we started.
Kyle always removing those sleeves before we start the show, which you have become world famous for, my friend. World famous.
There's a lot worse I can be world famous for.
This is true. This is true.
I'll take it.
We won't talk about those videos though.
Yeah. But what we'll talk about is wrestling.
Yes, we will. And we try to cram an entire week of wrestling news and notes into an hour every Sunday night for you. John Majewski is here. What is up, Magic Man? And Archie, I was telling Kyle before we went on the air, Archie asked me earlier if there would be any nudity on today's show. And I told Archie Kyle's arms, and he's showing a little more. So that's where the sleeveless thing came from. But welcome to the show, everybody. And Kyle, what's up out there tonight, my friend?
Not much. What a week it's been.
Yes, it has. A few things we're definitely going to talk about here, and that's even before we get to the TV shows. I want to say, for the record, for the first time today, this afternoon, I don't know why, I just never got a chance to watch it, never took the time to watch it, whatever. I watched Fighting with My Family today for the first time. It is funny. It is a really, really, really good movie. Like, even if you, like, my wife is a marginal, Kyle knows, marginal wrestling fan at best. She really enjoyed it. It's a good comedy movie, if not a wrestling movie. I really liked the movie. Chris Wood is out there. He says, "What's up, fellas?" Archie says, "Kyle, put on sleeves." So
I don't have any right near me. I lost them. Son of a next time.
But yeah, if you haven't checked out Fighting with My Family, check it out. I highly recommend it. It's actually a really good flick. Of course, they, just like any other biopic movie, they play with the truth, a little bit. But that is what it is. You have to make the movie interesting. It's not always going to be 100% accurate. They kind of play with the truth as far as what happened during her WWE debut, some of the other stuff. But Archie, your comments can be seen. Thank you for commenting, by the way, and thank you for being here. So the first thing, since we can't discuss the movie because you haven't seen it yet, I want to talk about this situation with WrestleMania and possibly all the WWE pay-per-views. Possibly not being on the network, possibly going to, I've heard the possibility, we bantered about a little bit earlier last week about WrestleMania being on Fox, which that would be interesting. It'd be more like the Super Bowl. But then now this week, there's a possibility that, from what I heard, WWE pay-per-views could wind up on ESPN Plus, which, if it's like the UFC situation, you only pay $4.99 a month for ESPN Plus, but then you have to pay the $60 or whatever to get the pay-per-view. So Jeremy Cotton says, "What's up? What's up, Jeremy?" What do you think, Kyle?
I mean, I'm not a sports fan, so I'm not going to pay to watch ESPN. Mm-hmm. There's not really much that I'm sorry. For those fans out there who do love football or basketball or, hey, more on you, it's not for me. I can't see dishing out, even $4 for it,
Right.
And then on top of that, the pay-per-views,
mm-hmm.
It's going to kill the pay-per-view market.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, for the people watching out there right now, are any of you really going to pay $39.99 for fucking Battleground? No, hell no, you're not.
Yeah, sometimes I don't even watch Battleground live.
Exactly.
I mean, the only reason I watch every WWE pay-per-view is because of the fact that it's 9. I will keep the WWE network because honestly, I use it mostly to watch old shit anyway. As long as the old stuff's there, I'll keep subscribing to it. But we would probably go back to. I would go back to. Okay, I'm going to buy the Rumble. I'm going to buy WrestleMania. Maybe SummerSlam if it's what I want to watch. But I'm not gonna bother with it. Unless I don't know. Just it's. I think that the idea of maybe WrestleMania, maybe, I guess, could be something special to be off the network or what have you. I can understand that, but all the pay-per-views overall, I just don't subscribe to that. I won't subscribe to that. Literally.
Right. I mean, if it's one of those things, like you said, that they're going to put the WrestleMania on NBC, fine. Okay, cool. Whatever. If it's on the network later or whatever, I don't know. Again, I just don't see people dishing out to buy Super Showdown or Crown Jewel or whatever the hell it is that's coming up now. I mean, people are already,
Chris Wood says, hell no, but Great Balls of Fire, that's a $40 pay-per-view.
Oh, God. We got to pay for that life thing somehow.
Archie says, I use a free streaming site now when the network acts up, so I won't be paying $70 for any pay-per-view. Good idea, Archie.
Yeah.
That's how I watch AEW. I don't have cable television. I'm a cable cutter, so I have streaming networks and that's it, and don't have access to TNT, so I watch AEW on an illegal site. I might be getting viruses on my computer watching that fucking show, but anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I'm with you guys. I don't think that I'll be other than maybe Rumble and Mania, possibly SummerSlam. Survivor Series isn't a can't miss show anymore. I mean, Survivor Series is at this point a marginal pay-per-view.
I mean, think about it. Quite honestly, I mean, we always say it every time we watch pay-per-view or a show on the network. It's like, man, that was really good. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen anything in the last since the network probably started. You know what? And I'm going to include WrestleMania as well into this. I haven't seen anything that made me see like, you know what? If it was still $40, $50, I'd be shelling out for this.
Probably the only stuff that they put out now on pay-per-view that I would say, yes, I would spend $30 on it. At least $30. Those takeover pay-per-views. I think the takeover pay-per-views are worth $30, but there's no rumor of them going off the network, so I think we're okay with those. But like that last one, the takeover Portland, I would have paid $30 for that show. That was a good show.
I mean, but I don't know what's coming up. Elimination Chamber.
Super Showdown's the next one on Thursday, but those shows don't exist to me. I don't watch them.
Yeah, I don't count those. I don't need to see.
I don't watch the Blood Money shows. Chris says, let's look at it this way. If they're struggling with network numbers with people that can't hack $9.99, do they really think they're going back to the $40 to $60 pay-per-view model is going to fly? I agree. Again, I don't know what they're thinking, but it should be interesting. 2020 is going to be an interesting year. It's already had kind of a sucky start, but the Rumble was promising. WrestleMania should be good, I'm hoping, with the card that's shaping up right now. So speaking of WrestleMania weekend, let's talk Hall of Fame real quick. Mm-hmm. This week we found out, along with Batista and the NWO, how about finally the British Bulldog? He's going into the Hall of Fame whether he wants to or not.
He absolutely deserves it. These two announcements that have been made about who's going in the Hall of Fame is a tale of somebody who absolutely deserves it and people that, in my opinion, shouldn't even be near the Hall of Fame. But
well, the Bulldog definitely deserves to be in it.
The fact that he isn't or hasn't been in yet, that it's now 2020 and he's just now going in is a fucking travesty.
Yeah, one of those guys people have been petitioning for years. There was a little debate this week that I saw in a couple of groups about should he have went in with Dynamite Kid as the British Bulldogs. And some people brought up a Dynamite Kid with the drugs and the blah, blah, but there's a lot of people that have sordid pasts and histories that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'm good with either way. I would have liked to see them go in as a team, but I'm good either way.
The fact that Hulk Hogan is still in the Hall of Fame after some of the stunts he's pulled, and the fact they're like, oh well, I don't know if Dynamite Kid's the right,
Mm-hmm.
is the right cut for this.
I mean,
questionable people in there.
Bell to bell, he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. So and they're one of the best tag teams of all time. So can you really argue with either way? Like I said, I'm good with either way. If Davey's going in by himself, that's cool. I'm fine with that. It's about time. One of those kind of deals. But and Chris, this is what I. Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
I'm getting sick and tired of the multiple inductions.
Yeah, some guys.
This is where we're at now, because they have to have 7 people go in every year, or 8 people go in every year. Now they're running out of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. To me, it's ridiculous that there only should have been one person who was a double-time Hall of Famer, and that was Ric Flair.
And you say they're not running out of people, though. That's the thing. They're just omitting. Okay, you're gonna have Hogan go in for the NWO. Scott Hall's going to go in again as Scott Hall for the NWO. He's already in as Razor Ramon. Kevin Nash is going to go in again. But yet Bam Bam Bigelow isn't.
Yep.
You have stunning omissions there. So I definitely Jeremy Cotton says hi, Kyle.
Hi, Jeremy.
Chris Wood, is it? Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
Sorry. Question I want to ask you guys: anybody that's that's watching this, or here or in the future. To me personally, I think there's somebody who definitely deserves to go into the Hall of Fame. Doubt we'll ever see it, but I think Ted Turner deserves it.
I even colorized a few of them.
Well, but think about it, though. Think about it. If it wasn't for Ted Turner, Jim Crockett Promotions would have gone out of business.
Yes, absolutely.
Ted Turner did a lot for pro wrestling. Vince McMahon has a lot to thank out of Ted Turner, because if it wasn't for WCW and Ted Turner, Vince would have never probably gone public, and he wouldn't have had the Attitude Era. And do what you want. I mean, if you want to talk about people who did things for wrestling, I mean, God. Even when WCW in the 90s was horrible, Ted Turner kept it on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, Ted Turner loved wrestling.
He liked wrestling.
I think he deserves a spot.
And Chris says Bischoff should have went in with the NWO. That's another guy that should go into the, if you're talking about with Ted Turner along with Bischoff are those two guys are probably the reason they are the reason that Vince stepped up his game in the late 90s, and the reason we had the Attitude Era, the reason he changed his business model. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what the listeners think about Kyle's thing there, but we'll find out.
Well, it's because of him that we got to see Macho Man wrestle for more years.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see Hogan wrestle for more years. We got to see, a lot of stuff that you may not have got to see because Vince was big on the new generation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. To me, I think Ted Turner was a friend of pro wrestling.
Yeah. The only reason WCW ever really went out of business, it would have stayed in business if it would have kept television. So the only reason it ever went out of business is because Ted Turner lost control of his networks. I assure you, Ted Turner would have kept WCW on TV had he retained power in his company. So yeah, you're right. I mean, he was again, like you said, he's a friend of wrestling. He may not have been a friend of Vince, but he was a friend of wrestling. Right. However, well, I mean, I guess if Vince put Vern Gagne in, and maybe one day we'll see Ted Turner in the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame. Jeremy says, what about some ECW guys? I think eventually, Jeremy, we're going to get there, especially with Paulie back in kind of a position of power. I know for a fact that Vince would definitely put RVD in. He likes RVD. Yeah. I think he would put RVD in. I think Raven deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm thinking of ECW guys that should be in the Hall of Fame to me. Are the Dudleys aren't in the Hall of Fame, are they?
I don't think so.
No, the Dudleys, Tommy Dreamer. So yeah, I mean Sabu. I think at some point you're probably going to see that. You're going to see a wave of ECW because, like Kyle says, they start running out. They start running out of guys. So eventually they're going to be like, well, let's pull some of these guys out of our hat, or get these guys out of their van.
It doesn't feel special anymore when it's like, oh, fuck, Hulk Hogan's 3-time Hall of Fame. It's like, at this point, it's like, come on, guys, like.
So okay, so back to a comment that I was going to make earlier, and Chris echoed my sentiment, and I think that you were alluding to this one a little bit ago. The Bellas. If anything, if you want to put the Bellas in the Hall of Fame, I would say you can get away with it by throwing them into the celebrity wing. They're reality TV stars. They're models. They have been a part of the company, yes. So I would say at the best they deserve celebrity wing of Hall of Fame, but man, it is lame. Yes, it is lame that they're putting the Bellas in the Hall of Fame. It's the Hall of Lame there.
And it's not anything against them. It's just, what have they done that's been Hall of Fame worthy?
Fucking nothing. I got nothing. I mean, they haven't done anything that, they've been in bed with some future Hall of Famers, but that's about it. And taking a future Hall of Famer semen does not make you a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry.
No,
I said it.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I could maybe see Brie because Daniel Bryan's still there and they want to keep him happy, but Nikki, it's like, sorry, John Cena moved on.
You can't see him.
No.
And then the other one, I can't remember if it's actually confirmed or not. Somebody let me know. JBL. I think it's confirmed. JBL's going in this year.
I've heard the same thing, and I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but he damn sure deserves it.
Say what you want about JBL being a dick, being an asshole, whatever. JBL, number one, and I've defended him on the podcast before. Number one, JBL was a great asset to the company when Lesnar left, and there was so much going on with talent and everything, and they needed good heels, and that's what I'm saying. He was not only a great asset to the company, he not only was faithful to the company for years, he was one of the better heels of the 2000s. And again, company loyalty. He's a WWE guy. He's never, was JBL the greatest wrestler ever? No, but I've never seen a JBL match where I was like, oh, that match fucking sucked. I mean, he was a good performer. Again, a great heel. He never had a problem putting anybody over. Even when he was champ for what was it, almost a year, like 10 months. Every time JBL retained his title, if you look at the end of the match, he knew I should have lost this match. Like, he had that look in his face. He had that, he did a great job, I think, and I think he does deserve the Hall of Fame. So again, say what you will about him personally, but
and think about it, especially when he first started off, it was Justin Hawk Bradshaw and everything else, and then into the new Blackjacks and everything. I mean, it was short-lived and stuff, but I mean, God, he's been over.
Mm-hmm.
Everything he's ever done, he was over.
Yeah.
I mean, him with the APA. I mean, talk about guys that, I mean, good Lord. Talk about two guys that get put together as part of Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness. I mean, it's such a lame tag team, and then they turn it into what they did with the APA.
Yeah.
Which is probably some of the most entertaining stuff on Raw at the time.
Absolutely. Tyler Dove says JBL deserves it. Damn good wrestler. Jeremy Cotton says JBL and Ron Simmons together, just like Kyle was just talking about. And Tyler says JBL has one of the best clotheslines. Yes, clothesline from hell. I mean, it's up there with a Stan Hansen clothesline.
I wouldn't take it.
Hell no. Hell no.
Nope. Not a chance.
Especially since somebody said you look like Blue Meanie. That would be terrible for you. See what I did there?
I do. But you know what's funny about that, and I will get back to it real quick and everything else, but everyone talks shit about how he did that to Meanie. If you go back and watch One Night Stand, Meanie gets in his face and is talking shit. And then he wants to be like, oh,
adrenaline flows, man.
yeah, and then he wants to be like, oh, he took advantage of me. You should have been talking shit to JBL. Let's tell you.
So the last thing before we get to some of the TV stuff going on this week, and unless you have something else, is I wanted to ask you if you saw the mall spot. With I can't remember the kid's name, but his dad is Luke Hawx, the indie wrestler Luke Hawx. It's Luke Hawx' kid. Did the flying leap off of the I call it the Sabaro's leap off the second floor of the, I don't know what store he was in front of, so I just pretend it's a Sabaro's pizza place. Leaps down off of the second story of the mall onto a bunch of other guys in front of 10 people.
And right there in itself, the fact that neither of us can remember the guy's name.
I just know he's Luke Hawx' kid.
I mean,
Tyler Dove says, "Isn't his name PJ?" You might be right, Tyler. I can't remember what the first name is, but
I mean, look, I understand that you got to make a name for yourself and everything else. And trust me, I've been a musician for 15 years. I know, like you have to go out there and take risks and, give it your all the time. But at what point do you sit there and you go, well, I'm going to jump off of the second fucking floor of this mall in front of 10 people? I mean, I'm sorry, guys. I hate to break your heart, but, Mick Foley did jump off the roof of his house and everything else, but there ain't no way in hell he's jumping off that Hell in the Cell
right
in front of 10 people. He ain't doing it. I mean, it just,
Dave DeRozier says it's the food court leap. Food court leap. Thank you, Dave. I like that. The food court leap from Luke Hawx. Here's my biggest issue with it. Whether, okay, I'm sure his dad was the promoter, so I'm sure he got a decent payday for it. And he did, like Tyler said, they did give him some exposure on the NWA, so it did get him some attention. My biggest issue with the whole spot, and I said this when I posted it in the Facebook group, was that you have a spot like that, and it's not the fucking finish of the match. Mm-hmm. That's the problem right there.
You know who else is getting exposure? Is Superhuman. Is that really the kind of exposure you want? Because look, you know what? You could say, hey, he got exposure, but when you're the fucking laughing stock and you're just joking, buddy, that's not good exposure.
Yeah, elbow dropping a microwave in your backyard.
Exactly. I posted it a long time ago, and I said Andy Warhol once said that in the future everyone will have 15 minutes of fame, and unfortunately, he's right.
All right. So any more on that, and anything else you want to bring up before we get into the TV product?
No, I think pretty much everything. The only thing that I want to bring up is I mentioned it to Chris Wood last week when we had him on the show, and I don't know, I think that you were gone for that, but apparently the rumor is going to be AJ Styles versus Taker Mania.
Yes, I heard that Taker handpicked AJ because he wants to be able to have the kind of match he had with HBK. Really quick, Archie says, language, Nate Maxon. We already have Kyle nude. We need a PG rating.
Fair enough.
Archie. All right, so, yeah, I mean, and Taker, AJ, I think could be a great match. And if you're going to do it, now's the time because AJ's pretty hot as a heel. Yep. He's done a good job with the OC and this heel character. And other than the fact that whenever you go looking for wrestling toys, he's all over the place, which makes him an even bigger heel because who wants another fucking AJ toy? But anyway, right, Archie? But anyway, the AJ, I think AJ Undertaker is a good move. It'll be a good match. This Mania itself is I think turning out going to be a good AJ. A good AJ, a good Mania. I was reading somebody's comment there. And that'll just add to it. I think it's going to be a good show, and that should be a good match. I've never seen AJ. Everybody knows is one of my favorites. He doesn't really have bad matches, and if Taker at this stage in his career is going to get in there with somebody, let it be AJ.
It's somebody that can work around an Undertaker, like with Shawn. I mean, so hopefully, because Lord knows we don't want the Goldberg Undertaker to be Undertaker's last hurrah.
Well, and you know what? At least it's not Sting Undertaker, because that's the match that they talk about, but I don't think anybody really wants to see at this point. Would I have wanted to see that match in 2001, right after WCW closed? Yeah, fuck yeah. But now...
See, this is where I agree with Jim Cornette, because he brought up the fact, and he's like, you really want to see it, because how do you do that? How do you do it? Because someone has to win, someone has to lose.
Right.
I mean, it's the reason why we never saw Austin versus Hogan. It's just too much in it where it's like someone has to win, someone has to lose. Same thing with Goldberg and Austin.
Yeah, you have to, and we'll get to a situation like that here in a little bit that I want to ask you about. Okay, so
some stuff is best left to the imagination.
Well, here I'll just start with it since we're on the topic. It comes to the end of the week because it would have been during discuss. There really isn't anything else to discuss from SmackDown. SmackDown was kind of garbage, but so Thursday in Saudi Arabia they're doing Goldberg and The Fiend. You talked about how do you book that? What do you do? How does that? Because Goldberg should not beat The Fiend. Fiend has too much momentum right now. And I hope he doesn't, because if he does, then that means they're shooting for Goldberg and Roman at Mania. But then again,
according to news sites, that from what I've read, according to news sites, and they can all change, but apparently there is no spot for Goldberg at WrestleMania whatsoever.
Okay.
Apparently he is. That is what that is that he's not booked for Mania. So
I just don't know how they book the end of this match is my problem. Like you have Goldberg, who you're paying a lot of money to be there, who you've built up as it is what it is. And then you have Fiend, who to me, he can't lose this. It's not, he has so much momentum right now. Bray Wyatt has so much momentum right now. I don't know how you have him lose this match.
What they'll probably do is at some point you're going to see Goldberg hit the spear, and Bray Wyatt's not going to sell it, and it's going to freak Goldberg out, and he's not going to pin Goldberg and Goldberg's not going to tap out. He's going to hit the mandible claw, and Goldberg's going to pass out, and the ref's going to stop it.
Goldberg's the only Jew popular in Saudi Arabia, by the way.
Because they don't know he's Jew yet.
Chris Wood says Wardlow looks like Rhino with Miracle Grow. Don't worry, Chris. We're going to get to Where's Wardlow here in a little bit in the show. That's what I call him. Where's Wardlow? Archie, Nate Maxon, it's called Blood Money on pay-per-view. Get it right. Absolutely. Chris says the other rumor is Brodus and Carmen are appeering at Mania. Somebody call my mama. One of my favorite John Cena stories, though, is the story about the Brodus Clay match at WrestleMania 29, I think it is. Or the Brodus Clay segment, because they were going to cut it. They were going to cut it from the show. And Cena told Brodus, I got to go take a shit. And essentially what he was saying was, I'm going to go take a shit. I'm in the main event. They're not going to, so they're going to have to kill time so your segment can go on. I thought that was a pretty cool gesture by Cena. Yeah, my match is about to come out. Sorry, I got to take a dump. So,
yeah. I mean, that's, from everything I've ever heard or said about John Cena, seems like a pretty good dude.
Yeah, most definitely. May not be everybody's favorite wrestler, but he's a good cat. So moving on here, Monday Night Raw this week. A few things. The Orton Hardy angle the past couple of weeks has been some good stuff. Randy's doing the best work he's done in a long time. The Archie says, so basically time stops for Cena's shit. Yeah, pretty much. In 2013 in the WWE, yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. When you're the top selling t-shirt guy.
So anyway, Archie taking me off track again. Orton Hardy, good stuff. Randy Orton's doing the best work he's done in years. They're letting Randy be Randy. You can tell when he cuts a promo, it's not a written promo for him. Randy's one of those guys that's allowed to go out there and just do his thing, hit his bullet points. I thought that this angle this week was good, but two things. I thought it was good, but two things about it is it went a little too long, and because modern wrestling fans are stupid, or WWE, AEW, NWA, TNA, whoever have conditioned modern wrestling fans this way, in reality, the segment got an undesired reaction. If you're booking this segment, you want people to be, if you're talking about the way wrestling should work, you would want people to be booing Randy Orton. Instead, they were cheering him and egging him on one more time, things like that. Because modern wrestling fans have to be part of the show. They can't just, Right. But
the problem is that, again, it's WWE's own fault, because it's how they have conditioned their fans over the last 15 years, where everything is boom, 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 boom. There is no time to breathe or let anything settle. So, of course, that's what it is. It's like, we know, the problem is we know where we're going for WrestleMania. Those two.
Right.
There's no suspense. There's no,
And I don't know if this was Hardy's last appearance or not. I haven't seen either way, because they were supposed to have a match this week and they didn't. So I don't know if this is eventually going to lead to a match ultimately, because I had heard that they were trying to get him to stay now, which is funny, because you don't let the guy be himself for a year and then he comes out and he's himself and he gets over and you're like, oh, look at this great talent we have.
Yeah. Yeah, if they don't get over, then it's, well...
Sorry, we just didn't reach for that brass ring, pal.
Remind me when we get to AEW that I have some stuff that I need to bring up, and I want Archie's opinion on some of this, because it kind of includes him. So.
Oh, Archie! I hope you're up. Yep, Archie's still here. He says Hardy needs to go away now. Couple other things from Raw. The Charlotte Rhea stuff. We've already discussed my issue with this. I don't like NXT being involved in the main roster stuff. I think NXT should be in its own pool, but there's no stopping this now, so I have to accept it. And they're probably going to have a really good match at Mania. And Rhea's doing a great job. Charlotte's a great heel, although she's the female Roman Reigns, constantly pushed down your throat, but. She's a pro, and I'm sure that she will get a good match out of Rhea. Drew McIntyre. Oh, go ahead.
I will say this about Bianca Belair. And as a person that is the third wheel in this whole story, she's doing a fantastic job, in my opinion, of staying relevant.
Yeah.
Coming out during NXT, and, where anybody normally would make that promo sound goofy, like, well, you know what I'm saying? The one that with passion and fire, where I'm just like, damn, I want to see it now.
Yeah, she's super over with me. We discussed that last week. To me, if they push her properly, she could be what Sasha should have been, because I think she has a better attitude than Sasha. And I think she's really good. I know Chris Wood disagrees out there somewhere. He's shaking his head going, oh, no. But... Drew McIntyre is still on point. I'm all on the Drew Express for Mania, and from what I hear, he is going to Claymore kick his way to the championship at Mania, and that's going to be great. Him and Heyman were great this week. I am not excited about Becky and Baszler because, again, you've got more cross-pollination between NXT and WWE, and the bite thing was silly, and I think it's hurting. This whole thing with Becky is hurting Shayna more than it's helping her.
Well, see, and that's the problem. And again, it's, to me, seeing Becky come out with the $100 bills in a sack and, you know, throwing it out and stuff, it's like, God, it's corny, that's cheesy, that's Vince writing. Like, that's my problem. That anytime anybody gets over, Vince has got to stick his fucking hands in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'll show you how to get over, pal.
Comedy, pal.
It didn't work with Seth. It hasn't worked with Dean. It didn't work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's what I'm hoping is next year. At this point, we don't have, and I'm back to Drew, but I'm hoping that next year at this point we don't have Vince sitting down with Drew McIntyre going, "We have to have a segment with dog food. You need a segment with dog food." That's what I don't want to see.
But you know what though? I said maybe it was last week or the week before with Drew that he comes out and does the whole Cena shtick thing of, you know, like, oh, welcome to Monday Night Raw, and the people aren't turning on him.
No, it's because he's fucking great.
Yeah, so hopefully he's figured that out where he can play that. So,
let's see here real quick. Archie says Rhea Ripley is a goddess. Chris Wood says Bianca playing her best Kanye on NXT this week.
She did, yeah.
Archie says Sasha went away and came back to go away again. I'm pissed at Sasha. She can only suck it now. Get it? And Tyler Dove says she did suck it. LMAO. All right, so I've come to the end of the comments there. Back to Raw a little bit. The only other two things I have are I'm glad AJ's back. Not in action figure form, but in real form. And they should call Seth Rollins' group the Beard World Order. I was really excited about that when it first started. I thought they were going to be a cool heel faction, and it still has the opportunity to be, but it's really, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because of it's the way Raw is presented and the way characters are presented on Raw, but it's already lost its steam with me. I really want to like it. I like everybody in the group, and I really want to like it, but I just watch it and I'm like, this is boring. It's boring.
It's tough, especially when you have a competitor like AEW who is doing kind of the same thing with the Inner Circle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's comparisons made between the two, and it's like, because I think personally, like a lot of the stuff Jericho does with the Inner Circle, it's gold, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
And you turn over to Seth Rollins, and it's like, it's kind of like the light version of it.
Yeah. Well, and it is because Raw and SmackDown are so sanitized. You're right. It's the light version of professional wrestling. It's like Jim Cornette said on his show. He watched Raw this week, and he says this does not resemble anything of what a wrestling show is.
Yep.
So we'll move on to AEW, and I know you said you wanted to bring something up to Archie, and he's still here. So AEW this week, you had the Tag Team Battle Royal, which was what it was. Young Bucks are going to be challenging Olivier and Hangman Page, which is like the tale of two wrestlers for me as far as a tag team goes. I like Hangman. I hate Omega. So anything on that?
Not really. I think Hangman Page is one of those guys that he has so much potential, but it's hard with where they're at right now. They need a secondary title.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They need a mid-card title.
Just one.
Just one, but if you had like a U.S. title or something where, you know, these guys that are getting lost in the shuffle that aren't in the main event, aren't for the world title, they need something.
Mm-hmm. So Jon Moxley and Jeff Cobb Good pull for AEW getting Jeff Cobb. That dude's awesome. But they've already, to me, not used him properly. He shouldn't have lost to Jon Moxley.
No.
He could have had moments where it looked like he was going to lose to Jon Moxley, and then the Inner Circle jumps in and causes a DQ. Would that or would that not have been more effective use of this dude?
Or better yet, sit there and have somebody fucking boom hit him in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just even more reason for him to be pissed at the Inner Circle. Be like, no, I'm losing matches because of this eye, because of what you guys did. I can't, you're costing me money now because now I'm losing.
Raymond Stevens is here. Ray Stevens, the Streak, is here. They need to push Hangman into the next great heel world champion, in my opinion. I think you're onto something. But I think honestly, Ray, I think the story is going to be essentially Chris Jericho is going to remain AEW World Champion until there's a way Cody gets to get a title shot again. That's the whole reason. I think that was one of the smartest booking decisions this company's made so far, is putting that stip on Cody where he's not allowed to get a title shot, because Cody and Jericho are your two biggest stars. So what better way to keep them apart? Because if you didn't have this stipulation, then it would be very easy to just throw them together and there's your money match. That stipulation that where he can't have a title shot is great, because it's going to keep them apart until Jericho does something. Yep. Maybe to whatever the equivalent of All In is next year or something. Jericho does something where there's no denying you need to give Cody a title shot, and I mean, in wrestling, stipulations are what they are. You can fuck it over. It doesn't matter. How many times did Terry Funk retire?
I was saying, how many times did Vince McMahon leave the company?
Yeah. So, but back into the show here. The only other note that I had from the show that was of any significance to me, and so anyway, before we get to the main event, you said there was something you wanted to pull Archie into this conversation on concerning AEW. You're absolutely right, Ray. He is a great talent.
I think it's pretty cool and pretty exciting. I don't know if you saw it yet, but apparently AEW has just started to license their own action figures.
Mm-hmm. Archie, are you out there?
And from what I saw, it looked like the packaging was the old style that the Jacks used to use for the classic superstars and stuff. And from everything I looked at, they looked pretty freaking sweet.
And you know what I heard? I heard that if you buy the deluxe edition of the Kenny Omega figure, it comes with a 9-year-old girl and the Invisible Man and a blow-up doll for free. So you can fuck off in your own room. You can just shit on the wrestling business in your own room, like Kenny Omega. That stupid piece of shit. But anyway. Oh, and he also, you know how the WWE Elite figures come with different hands? You can switch.
Yeah.
Kenny also comes with jazz hands. So that'll be fun. But anyway, Archie hasn't responded yet to this. But no, I want the Cody figure. That Cody figure looks fucking awesome. The Jericho figure with the belt.
When I saw those on their Instagram or whatever, I was just like, I'm not big into collecting, but damn, they almost make me want to, because they're pretty cool looking. And the fact is, now they're coming out with their own rings and stuff and everything else. They're having their own title belts. Like they're on their way. Like if they just fine tune some things on their program. To me, it's huge that we're getting these action figures and stuff for this, because it's just going to, it puts them on the level with WWE.
Archie just commented, "I'm here. What's the question, Nate Maxon?" I think there wasn't really a question, Archie. Kyle just wanted to pull you into this conversation. What do you think of the AEW figures? Because you are the figure hunter, Archie, finding all those AJ Styles all over New Jersey. Ray says their figures are awesome. Yes, they do. Like I said, they look really cool. They. And yeah, I mean they're moving up in the world as a company, and the next thing on this show that I wanted to talk about quick because we're 45 minutes in now, so we'll see how far we get in a conversation about the other stuff. I think we're almost done though. So we had the cage match between Cody and Where's Wardlow. The Archie says the figures they show getting fine-tuned and the pay-per-views delivering will keep them around 10 years or more. Yes. And he said the figures look incredible and he wants all of them. Well, I hope you get that. I hope you get that Invisible Man in addition to the Omega figure, because I'm not buying that one because I won't give that guy a red cent. But anyway.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. But anyway, the cage match was good. Where's Wardlow is better than I thought he would be. And Cody's
cage looks like a cage.
Yes, they have a cool looking cage.
They do, a very cool looking cage.
Cody's Archie says he's going to buy me one and send it to me. I could have some. Actually, Archie, I could have some real fun with that figure on this show right here. I could have some real fun with that figure on this show.
You know what's funny about this is that you might be careful what you ask for, Nate, because you might have a chance of all of our listeners ended up sending you figures.
I'm just going to get barraged with Kenny Omega figures. As long as I get the Jazz Hands edition. So I can do something. Yeah, and maybe like a funny face or something. The guy's a fucking joke. But anyway, that spot at the end of the Cody Wardlow Where's Wardlow match with the moonsault off the cage. Damn. That is a guy, and you know, I'm not the biggest AEW fan. They're okay. This show this week was actually a really good show. This is probably the best from beginning to end show that they've done. They've had some bright moments like we've talked about. One of my favorite things in wrestling right now is in AEW. It's the Cody Rhodes MJF feud. I like the Chris Jericho Dean Ambrose feud. When AEW does pro wrestling the way pro wrestling should be done, they're doing a decent job. This match, the actual match between Moxley and Cobb, again, I wasn't a big fan of the finish, but the actual match between those two, and just the consistency of this week's show, I think AEW, for the first time for me, for some of you it may be every week, I don't know, but for me, this week I thought AEW was actually the best show this week.
And, to bring it back full circle, this is what a dive off of something should look like. This is when you do it.
Yeah. And
I mean, this is when you do take the high risk.
It makes sense. They did, when you do a high spot, not at the mall, but in an arena in front of people on national cable television, a high spot like this is when you do it, because, again, this feud, there's a reason that Cody would take such risks. He wants to get to MJF. Why did he allow 10 lashings? Why did he It's beautifully written professional wrestling. This feud is one of the best things going in wrestling right now. And again, where's Wardlow? Who knew? I didn't know he was any good. I don't even know where the fuck he came from. But I mean, if they got him at the airport, good pull. I don't know.
Well, and that's how you make a star. That's how you make somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? I mean,
exactly.
It's only the story of pro wrestling and how it's been done, through the years. But
yeah, if AEW would just future endeavor Omega, well, they're not going to do that because he's an executive vice president or whatever. That's like fucking putting me in charge of Southwest Airlines. And we get the one Buck a nice toupee, because he's 20 something years old or whatever, and he looks like he's got Hulk Hogan's hair. And just slow some of these guys down. Your hour TV show every match shouldn't be high spot. Because then why do I want to watch your pay-per-view? I already saw your fucking high spots.
Right. Well,
You
and I
know.
think that's the thing, is that you have a lot of guys who've come from like the PWG style and everything else, where it's
Mm-hmm.
fast paced, move, high spot, high spot, high spot. They're getting now to here where I think you're having guys like Jericho, like Cody, being like, you need to slow down, you need to take. We're seeing it get better and better.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? When they first started, now it's a vast improvement. I think it's going to continue to get better.
It has gotten better, yes. And I mean, you've been doing this show with, well, not just this show, but the podcast before we started doing this show with me for a while. And when they started, I had my doubts. I was like, if this is what it's going to be every week, I don't know how long I'm going to watch this show.
Yep.
But consistently each week, there is less and less garbage and more good. So maybe they're finding themselves. The Dark Order can go away.
Mm-hmm. I don't need to see Raven.
No.
No. But he shouldn't be involved in anything in 2020 in front of the screen.
He looks like the guy. He looks like the guy that smells like 7 packs of cigarettes that comes up to me at my store and goes, "Hey man, hey man, hey man, you sell nails?" And that's what he looks like to me. Do I sell nails? Ironically, we sell hammers, but not nails. I don't want to go into that. It's fucking weird. But anyway, I've cussed a lot on this week's show. I'm in a good mood, I guess. Chris says that was a huge prop to Wardlow that he caught Cody so perfectly from that cage spot. Yes. Like I said, if this week's indication is where's Wardlow is capable of, I look forward to seeing what he can do. You know, so. Getting to, with 9 minutes left in the broadcast, we'll kind of rush through NXT here. Leo Rush and Jordan Devlin had a good match. Jordan Devlin's a good cruiserweight champion. I like that guy. Kai and Knox, like I talked about last week when we talked about Portland, the NXT Portland show, I wasn't a big fan of those two. And then they had that match at the pay-per-view, which was really good. And now the way that their rivalry is developing with this Gonzalez girl and everything, they've got me interested. I'm interested in these two. They've turned me into a fan of them and their rivalry, so I hope that continues.
Apparently it is. They're calling for a cage match.
Mm-hmm. Which should be good. Yeah.
Yeah, which is brilliant because it's building up to it. It's not just they're just to be there, the themed pay-per-view or whatever. So I'm excited to see those two in a cage.
I'm also excited that Lee and Dijakovic are going to keep working together. Yeah. I don't know if I could get tired of watching those two guys work together.
Those are two guys that I think
it's like watching.
It's like Sean and Brett. You're going to see them together where they can continuously come back to each other.
If you haven't listened to this week's edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, what's wrong with you? But also, I actually got Aaron to sit down for about 40 minutes. I actually got him to sit down this week and watch all the new stuff. I know, Kyle. What? He watched all the new stuff from this week. So we talked for about 45 minutes of his opinion of the new stuff. And one of the things he said to me was that these guys are like it, that those two guys are like what was I can't remember the comparison he made now, but he made a really good well, listen to the show because I can't remember now off the top of my head, but he made a really good comparison talking about these guys. I've actually also asked him, because he said he didn't, he's going to go back, sit down and watch NXT Portland and review that show on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. I'll be interested to hear his opinion on it. But like I said last week, to me, they're like Tanaka and Awesome. You know, just getting those two guys together is good stuff. Yeah. And then Velveteen Dream and Roderick Strong. I have had a problem with this feud. And the problem I have with this feud is that Dream is the baby face, but Dream is acting like the heel. I mean, this is essentially Jake Roberts and Rick Rude.
Yep. And you're right. You're right. I mean, Velveteen Dream is one of those guys that he's very unique.
Mm-hmm.
He is personally, in my opinion, one of the guys right now in NXT where he is an attraction.
Mm-hmm.
He has that aura about him. And all we've really ever seen him is as a face. I want to see him as a heel.
Right. And when he first started the character, he was a heel, but then it got over, so they switched him face, which is smart. I mean, if the fans are cheering him, that's what you do. You switch him face. But I think this feud has hurt both of them. And again, this is weird this week because I'm actually complaining more about NXT than I am about AEW. But this feud's hurting them because they're miscast in the feud. They're miscast in the feud.
Bailey and yeah, it's the same thing as Bailey and I can't think of her name.
Blonde girl. You guys are nasty. Yeah, Lacey Evans should be a heel. I liked her. I really liked her. Like her feud with Becky. It was great. She was a great heel. I saw her live in Fort Wayne when we went to a house show in Fort Wayne, and she teamed with Baron Corbin. So I mean, granted, I wanted to put a nuke in the ring because the only person in wrestling I hate more than Baron Corbin or more than Kenny Omega is Baron Corbin. But I wish they'd both take a long walk off a short pier. But she teamed with Corbin to take on Seth Rollins and Becky. In that evening, with Samoa Joe on the card, with AJ Styles on the card, there were a number of heels on the card. She got the most heel heat. The crowd fucking hated her. She is a natural heel, Lacey Evans. She is money as a heel.
Yep.
And they, again, I don't know, whatever. It's main roster WWE at this point. What can we do? All right, we have 3 minutes left, Kyle.
All right.
I want to remind everybody, you need to subscribe to our YouTube page. There is shit coming on our YouTube page. Actually, Kyle, you'll probably be a part of it too. I want to do a show. We're going to do a show on YouTube, interactive with you, the listeners, where me and either Kyle or Archie or David Gold or Aaron or somebody or Chris, who is a regular on the We Can't Wrestle, or all of us, whatever, we're going to sit down and watch, say, Monday Night Raw from March of 1996, an hour show. Or we're going to watch an In Your House from 95 or something. And we'll sit down, start the show, do a watch along with our listeners. I think it's going to be awesome. You know, you guys will be able to comment just like you do in this show. We can all have some fun. That'll be coming to the YouTube page. Much more stuff. So go subscribe to the YouTube page. Don't forget to check out this week's edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, episode 88. Good stuff. Ray says, agree. Corbin, agreed. Corbin is a walking douche. You the man, Ray. You the man. Chris Wood says he's going to make me a custom battle pack. Omega Corbin as the Galaxy Tag Team Champions. Actually, that sounds like a title that fucking Omega would come up with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the champion of the galaxy. Funny face, jazz hands, fucking hair. None of this is going to make any sense. All right. And then Corbin could just be like, I'm the king of the galaxy. Look at my horns. All right, anyway. You guys are getting me off track, and I've got just over a minute, and I want to let Kyle get a word in edgewise, too. Listen to We Can't Wrestle Podcast 88. Check out the Asylum Wrestling Podcast and the Asylum Wrestling Group that I'm an admin of and the producer of the podcast. I love doing that one every week, too. We're actually going to record the new episode of that one this Wednesday night. So, Kyle, with 1 minute left, say your hasta la vistas to our fans.
Also, check out Archie's figure hunting show. Mm-hmm. That is always a good time.
And AJM Customs, he makes the custom figures that are the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, go ahead, Kyle.
Until next week, guys, it's been a pleasure. Go out and watch some wrestling. That's what we're going to do.
Thank you for joining us, and remember, tell your friends, Nate liked AEW best this week. We're going to call this episode We Can't Wrestle Live. The fuck? That's what we're going to call this one.